Hi guys, it's Geekonomics here, and today I'm bringing you a few thoughts on the A-level themes paper. So it's paper 3, the synoptic paper, where you are assessed on, of course, both your macro and micro knowledge. I think that the first thing to say about this is that, of course, I will return to this when and once you have done the papers 1 and 2. Because, of course, the exam board are trying to assess the entire remit of the specification, and so things which are not assessed on papers 1 and 2 might be more likely to be assessed on paper 3. So I will return to this once papers 1 and 2 have been published. However, it is still worth having a look at what has been before and just considering the topics that have been assessed in the past and the things which have been sort of recurring themes, as it were. So, in the same way as we had for papers 1 and 2, there is a sample paper, 2 practice papers, and then obviously last year was the first cohort of candidates to get the actual paper. So we've got 4 papers to have a look at. If you don't have access to these, there's a Dropbox link beneath, and you can download the papers and the mark schemes. Okay, so let's have a look at the various papers which have been published previously. So number 1, the sample paper. Find this on the OCR website, ladies and gentlemen. Remembering the format of this particular paper is 30 multi-choice questions, then obviously you're presented with your case study, and then you have a set of data questions, and that includes and incorporates your 3 evaluation questions. So no essay questions here, but 3 fairly significant extended answer questions. So sample paper 1, case study was with regard to the UK and water. It was an environmental sort of case study, and consequently the key themes were environment, negative externalities, and cost-benefit analysis. And then the evaluation questions focused upon cost-benefit analysis. Lovely question that, if it does appear on your exam this session, the standard answer is always sort of step 1, step 2, step 3. It's always fairly similar, so that's a very nice question to get. Tax and the environment, lovely question again. Pigovian taxes and environmental taxes and internalising the negative externality, the polluter pays principle, etc., etc. And then a question on sustainable development, obviously with regard to meeting the needs of the present without depleting resources to such an extent that it makes life difficult for future generations, that whole notion. So that was sample paper 1. Practice paper 1 then, presented with case study on UK steel and labour markets. It's a bit of an odd paper, I thought, this one. But the key themes were demand and supply, protectionism, nice to see a little bit of monopsony and labour market theory, labour markets in a more general sense. And then the evaluation questions were, again, protectionism, monopsony, and making labour markets more flexible. That's a big topic, a big theme, isn't it, in the A-level specification. So really important that you know your labour markets inside out, back to front, upside down, etc. Practice paper 2, again, case study, interestingly, once again, so doctors' wages, healthcare, wage differentials, quite an interesting case study, this one. So the key themes being real wages, the whole notion of bilateral monopoly, which of course you would expect if you talked about doctors' wages and that whole notion of wages being forced down by the monopsonist and being pushed up by the trade union, and whoever's the strongest wins out. HDI, Human Development Index, the World Bank, growth and development. I think it is the case that you're more likely to see on the themes paper questions about World Bank, the IMF, the big institutions. Maybe you're more likely to see those on the themes papers. And then the evaluation questions were to do with the World Bank's role in promoting growth and development bilateral monopoly, obviously focusing here on the wages as we mentioned, and then how useful HDI is as a measure of economic development. That was quite a nice question. So that's that one. And then finally, last year's paper, where the theme was housing and infrastructure. So interestingly that David Smith, just in the Sunday Times, just gone, whatever date that was, what was that, 13th of May, was talking about the housing market. It's well worth having a look at that if you haven't already done so. Maybe it's a bit unlikely that you'll get a case study, obviously, this year on housing, but you might get a question about it. But key themes were improving affordability, PES, price elasticity of supply, with regard to houses and how quickly you can build a house, and therefore the price elasticity of supply in the short term being relatively inelastic. Market failure, growth and development, and then the evaluation questions focusing upon the affordability of housing and government schemes to attempt to make it more affordable. So we've seen in David Smith's article at the weekend talking about this notion of giving the sort of people when they're sort of 25 years of age, giving them a £10,000 raised through taxation, giving them £10,000 that they could maybe put towards a deposit. But of course, as David Smith was writing, he was saying, well, the only thing that will do is it'll just increase the price of houses. Government failure, not market failure. Market failure in the house building market, and then economic growth and development. So you can see these recurring themes which I've highlighted here. So we've got growth and development appearing, and then the bilateral monopoly, the monopsony, sort of similar topics there appearing over and over. So I think it is, as I've mentioned before on the previous two videos for the A-level Year 2 papers, it's very difficult to actually predict what these questions will be. Maybe for this one, once we've seen the micro and macro, we can eliminate areas of the specification which have been assessed and say, yes, that means that X, Y, and Z is more likely to be assessed in the paper 3 themes. But one thing I would maybe recommend, and I'll put a copy of this in the Dropbox link below. I've got a copy here of the International Board paper. So this is the winter paper, just sat in January. Well, October, November, but marked in January. And when if you download this and have a look at it, sometimes there's a bit of an overlap between what appears on this International Board OCR script and what appears on your summer scripts, because it's sort of, I guess it saves time for the board so that they tend to use similar themes. So for example, there's a large section here on the oil market, a page and a half indeed, on the oil market. And interestingly, on the Year 1 micro paper, which was sat yesterday, the whole theme of that was on oil. So who knows if that might be something which comes up on the Year 2 paper as well. But we can see here a lot of sort of market failure type questions, be that to do with the labour market or to do with the environment or the housing market. So market failure. So I'm just looking here at the International Board paper, page 7, and it's about intervention, and this is to do with oil, the oil industry and OPEC. So maybe that whole notion of oligopoly, game theory, maybe that's something that might arise in your paper. Be a nice question to do if it did appear. We've benefited from Mr. Martin Cox from the John Locke Institute, came just last week and delivered a seminar on this whole notion of game theory. So maybe that's something to consider. So I'll upload this to Dropbox along with the mark scheme, and obviously have a look at it, and maybe that'll help you for the exam. Hopefully it will anyway. So as ever, ladies and gents, if you managed to get to the end of this video, thank you very much. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd appreciate a little subscription there. If you want to contact me by means of questions, it's geekonomics.co.uk/contact. So that's my website, and you can contact me there. Twitter @G_Conomics, or Instagram G_Conomics also. So I hope the revision's going well, ladies and gents. I'm trying to get back to those of you who are sending me questions, as and when I have time, but do bear with me, I will get back to you. Bye for now.